Okay, about 2 minutes and we'll get going here. Got a couple of you there now, I see. Hello. No, that's not going to work. I can't minimize that. I won't post in the chat. Okay, so I can see the chat. Okay, we got people here. Hello. Hello, Isaac.
Hello.
How have you been?
I've been doing good.
Good. Good to see you. And get a couple more coming in here.
I'm gonna mute while I wait for this.
Okay, sounds good.
Oh, it's me then. How do I change user?
Hello, Betsy.
I'm on.
You're on. Okay, I'm gonna leave. Okay. How do I leave?
And is that Justin then?
Why not?
I don't know.
I don't know how to leave.
No, I got a message on YouTube here. How do I? I have to make that bigger. No, not that big. I'm trying to manage both the YouTube chat and the remove. No, I can't. I just want to say hello back. Well, Zion, I guess maybe that's disabled in live. Maybe I'm just supposed to speak. I'm sorry. So, Zion, hello. I see you there on YouTube. We got Isaac, a couple others. I don't see any other in the. Okay. All right. Well, I think it is technically time to get started. So, I was thinking about starting with the game that just happened. I think this was yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw my most recent video. Did anybody see the most recent video? Well, Yeah, I did a video thinking that it was the final game of the match between these two gentlemen here. They did a rapid tournament, and the previous game that Magnus had won, I thought that was the end of the tournament. I was wrong. There was actually another day of these two facing off with each other. And if you're not aware, Magnus Carlsen here on the bottom playing the white pieces is the world champion. And then Fabiano Caruana is the #2 rated player in the world who also faced, I don't know, I'm looking at that screen over there because I got a second screen, but he also faced Magnus Carlsen for the world championship, I think in, what had that been? Was that in 2018, the last time they faced off, November 2018? And I think they're facing off, well, Magnus Carlsen will be facing off with somebody again here very soon. But this is, in fact, the final game. And actually, Fabiano Caruana, the American, leads the series. He leads the series by 2 games, actually. And this is the final game. And this is the Clutch Chess International. And the strange thing is, actually, this game is worth 3 points. So if Magnus gets, or if it's a draw or Fabiano Caruana wins, he gets $265,000. But if Magnus Carlsen wins this game, then he gets $265,000. So this game is worth over $250,000. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Let's see if oh, I'm on the wrong screen here. Right, once again. Okay. I don't see anybody else joining. So yeah, you can definitely join if you're on YouTube. Hello. So I see Elizabeth says hello on YouTube. Okay, so Magnus Carlsen goes with C4, which is the English opening. And E5 is played by Fabiano Caruana, world #2 rated player in the world. And knight C6, attacking the center of the board, and just an excellent move on both parts. And then this strange move makes it the Karlsbremen system. And this game's actually been played before. Let's see. Oh, bring this up here. Okay. So these guys played basically the same moves not too long ago. This was last year in Russia. They're playing the same game. I'm going to scoot this over a little bit. Well, we'll just go with it. I'll show you where it differentiates. Okay, so this doesn't actually win. It's not really a great removing the defender. He's not looking to grab this pawn here because you really can't win it. If he grabs it, then the queen's going to come here. Go ahead, Isaac.
I didn't realize I unmuted. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No problem. No problem. Yeah, if you have any comments, yeah, we'll hear them either way. So you can join me on YouTube, or you can join me on Zoom. Okay, so you can't just capture the pawn here, but this is still the most common move to be played anyway. And now Fabiano Caruana castles. And I think this is where the game differentiates. Yeah, so this move here is played, where in this other game, they actually play bishop G2 instead. So a couple grandmasters, almost super GMs, just played this game like a year ago, but this is where it drops away from known games. It's amazing how quickly chess can, morph. You think with millions of games being played, the game would be played before, but at move 6, this hasn't been played in any known tournaments. Okay. And all right, so Fabiano Caruana plays B5. And the idea here is actually because Magnus is completely undeveloped. He hasn't developed any of his pieces here. He's got his entire back rank, sitting there besides the piece that he's lost. So Fabiano Caruana wants to rapidly develop his bishop. He's looking for Magnus to waste another move and be greedy and grab a pawn. Of course, Magnus Carlsen is smarter than that. He doesn't go for that move. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm getting the chat. Okay, hopefully it stays at the top. All right. Okay. So feel free to send me a message, or you can send everybody a message. Actually, in this case, we're not asking a question about a puzzle. at some point we'll get to a critical point in the game where something interesting happens, and we'll all kind of pause and think about it, and you can send me a private message if you think you have the right answer. Okay, so I think it's Fabiano Caruana's move here, but my mouse, well, actually I think I just click forward here. Can't I? No, I can't. Going back over to the other screen. No, I probably can't. Okay, so Caruana captures and captures back, and now Caruana grabs the pawn. And Magnus Carlsen doesn't want to go ahead and just grab this pawn here, actually, because something like pawn here guarantees disruption of the pawn structure. You know, your bishop's under attack. He's got two defenders of that pawn. You're going to have to trade off this pawn, and then your king is sitting in the middle of the board. So not something that Magnus wants to do. So he goes ahead and attacks the knight. You know, so he's pushing a pawn again, which, you know, we tend to want to avoid in a situation where we have all these pieces on the back rank, but I'm not one to judge Magnus Carlsen, okay? so he attacks. Actually, the rook could have been pushed over or something like that, and this would have transposed into another game, actually. But yeah, Caruana goes ahead and moves the knight, and now Magnus goes ahead and grabs that pawn now, getting a little bit closer to perhaps castling. And Caruana develops his bishop, nice fianchetto there. And now kind of an awkward move, but Magnus needs to get his king castled. Huh. I think I'm at the top of the chat there. Okay. And okay, so yeah, if you have any comments or questions about anything, we can always go back. I'm happy to go back through the moves and consider other variations. If you have any suggestions. I hope there's not somebody trying to get in that I'm missing. I have that trouble with Zoom sometimes. Let me double check. Oh, I got a chat. Okay, I'm sorry. Somebody sent me a chat in Zoom and I missed it. Oh, you would have played bishop a3. Oh, probably a way back though, huh? Do you remember when that was, Isaac? Isaac says he would have played bishop a3. Oh, attack and playing a move like that. Yeah, I think that's an idea, definitely. I would have played bishop a3 instead of d4. Okay, okay. Let's go back to that. Okay, so here where he plays d4, you would have played
Bishop a3.
Bishop a3.
Sorry, chat stopped me from being able to unmute.
Okay, no problem, no problem. Okay, so well, let's take a look at that. So if the bishop goes to a3, you could just push his pawn here. And then what would you do?
I was just thinking along the lines of it being a free development because it gains tempo.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, especially it's really strange. You know, I'm a little bit afraid some of my students watching this thinking, well, you don't really need to develop your pieces. Magnus Carlsen doesn't do it. You know, it's just like so he does play d4 and then captures. This is where Magnus attacks there before picking up the pawn. The awkward knight move, and now d6, and I think Magnus castles here. Yes, Magnus finally gets the castle on move 12, so not postponing it. But even though Magnus is castled, I mean his king's a little bit looser than this nice castle position that Caruana has. I block my chat box over here on YouTube. Okay. Okay. All right. So Magnus castles, and I think this is where they trade. Oh no. Okay. So he develops his knight first, looking to go over here. kind of become a monster on that bishop. And now, oh yeah, that's right. It was also a double attack. You know, two pieces were attacking that. So Magnus defends the pawn, gets another defender on that, and now they go ahead and trade once, and the knight does move. Magnus just backs off his bishop here. And, you know, this is a very good game for black here. You know, he's pretty cozy. Everything looks pretty good for Caruana. So again, I don't know if you noticed the photos over here. You probably did. Magnus Carlsen here, the world champion on the bottom. And then we have Fabiano Caruana, who was the challenger and is also the second rated player in the world. And they're playing for $265,000 here. Bobby Fischer at one point made a big deal out of there just not being any money in chess. But this is just a rapid chess tournament and it's worth over $250,000. So there is some money in chess now. Okay. All right, so Caruana actually makes a slight mistake here. You might look over here if you know chess.com. It says right now that white is ahead by just 0.21, so not much of an advantage at all. But this ends up being a bit of a mistake, and Magnus Carlsen ends up capitalizing on it. If you want to, let's just take a moment let's take a few moments and kind of think about what kind of move you would play here and see if you can come up with the move that Magnus played here that ends up being just, so actually it's not showing that Magnus has a huge advantage. It's only saying 0.68. Again, this is a rapid game, but this next move really just kind of finishes off Caruana. Well, he doesn't respond to it well, and yeah. So you can tell me in the chat or, oh, so Jackson knows what he plays. So Jackson said, yeah. Oh, the notation. Oh, brother. Well, thank you for that information, Jackson. This is only I think it's my third live session on YouTube, and I've still got a lot of work to do. So thank you, Jackson. The actual move is E. Well, the trouble is then, I need to go to, how do I need to go to details, and then I still have my buttons. Okay. I still need my buttons there. Okay. So E6 is played. I didn't, uh-oh.
You just went back to the beginning.
Did not mean to do that. All right. So here's just a refresher of the game. Okay, and then so this is where Magnus plays E6, and though the engine didn't actually find that move initially as being the best move, once I put it in there, it was like, oh yeah, that's actually a freaking awesome move. That's fantastic. And so Magnus found this great move, and it's really difficult to respond to this. You know, if you push the pawn here, well, then you're creating a passed pawn, and you know it's opening up this diagonal for the bishop at the same time. You know, it's just kind of a problem. If you don't respond to it, he's just going to capture with check with an attack on the queen at the same time. I don't know. Any suggestions on what you might do for black? Is that something we want to think about? How do you deal with that move? Do we want to be in that under that kind of pressure? Now, Caruana was playing this as a rapid, so he didn't have a whole lot of clock time. Why not? So somebody says, why not capture with the pawn? I think that's actually what Caruana does. So Caruana does capture with the pawn, and so we get to find out why. So Caruana captures, and now what would you play as white here? What would you play as white? I'm not really seeing anything on the live chat. Oh, I got to remember. So I just played the move. So there's a little bit of lag on YouTube. It looks like I'm probably at least 10 seconds behind on YouTube. So I'm going to give you guys some time to think about this. What move would you play if you were the world champion? I'm sitting here with the white pieces. facing the number 2 player in the world, just like 30 points behind you in ELO score, I think. Not much anyway. Maybe it's not even that much. And I'm kind of glancing over. I got the chat on another screen. I actually have Duet for, yeah, so my computer plays over to my iPad. So I got the chat over here for YouTube. That's actually the move, Jackson. You nailed it. Jackson, that's the correct move. Somebody said bishop takes d5. Okay. Trouble with that is it's kind of a nice bishop there, causing, it's firing down this diagonal here. I kind of like to have that. And you're going to see actually later in, well, never mind. I don't want to, that would be too much of a spoiler alert. So yeah, that would be an option. I'm not sure what's the idea with bishop takes d5.
Oh, the knight guards it too.
Yeah, the knight.
Guard.
So that comes into the game here. That comes in the game. But yeah, the correct move, which Jackson nailed, is actually knight to g5. So he created this weakness. Magnus created this weakness in the pawn structure, and he just goes right at it right away. And it's again, it's really difficult to deal with this. I mean, we could play bishop over maybe. You could give up the pawn and just get your queen into the game maybe. What do you do to defend that as black? Do we want to consider it from black's perspective for a moment? We're playing here. How do we deal with that attack? What move would you play? Anybody? So YouTube hasn't even seen it yet. I got to give a few seconds for YouTube to even get to that move. Okay, so now YouTube's looking at it. So definitely take your time considering how do you play this. I wonder if I make this big. I'm afraid that people are commenting on YouTube and I'm not seeing it because I got a bunch of comments at first and then maybe I'm not seeing the bottom. Oh, I'm sorry, Elizabeth. Yep. As I suspected, I wasn't seeing the comments. So I'm not sure what your bishop g5 comment was on, Elizabeth. I apologize. I goofed up on the YouTube feed, so people trying to message me and somebody said rook a e8. Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that one. Rook a e8. The trouble with that is I don't think it works because he's got the knight and the rook. So if you capture, if he captures with the rook, the queen's under threat, and yeah, you can capture the rook with the queen, but the knight captures your queen, and you are losing some material for sure. But that does defend the pawn. That would be one option. So somebody says queen to g5. Wait, queen takes g5. Well, yeah, I mean, you could do that, but that's kind of painful to. What was the last two moves? Okay, yeah, sorry, I missed that. Oh, so okay, did I miss yours? Okay. Oh, somebody said queen f6. Yeah, that's definitely that. That would probably be. Oh no, did somebody have something to say about that? Well, Isaac said queen to c5.
No, I was the one who did rook a8, followed by it.
Oh, okay. A e8 and then queen c5.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you play, oh wait, rook a e8, and then if they play rook here, then you can just jump over to c5.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you could capture the rook and kind of maybe diffuse
Yeah.
the attack. That would have been better than what Fabiano did. I'm pretty sure. Unfortunately, I mean, I don't want to sound slandering Fabiano. Again, he's playing in a rapid game, so Oh, hi, Sahil. So Sahil's here. Hello. Hey, good to see you. I have all my messaging over here on this screen, so I keep on looking away from my camera. I apologize. But yeah, Sahil is here. Okay, but that's not what was played here. Um, Actually, Fabiano defended with the rook here, and you may be able to see on your screen there the computer is calling that a mistake, and maybe it's not exactly sure why. You're not exactly sure why. Um, well, he was trying to get another defender, so somebody said that was odd. He's just, bringing up another defender because White's got two attackers, so now this pawn is semi-loose, it's weak, everybody's kind of gunning for it. Yeah. So White to move here. You're the world champion. You're playing for Magnus Carlsen. So hopefully you can see the picture over there on the left. I actually don't have should be just sharing this screen. So yeah, Magnus Carlsen is playing White. What move would you play as White here? Kind of increase the pressure of the situation. Anything extra you can throw into the muster? Oh, I got it. Somebody else. I think Helen has joined us. Helen, hello. Hi there. So we're looking for best move for White here. This is a game that was actually played, excuse me, I think it was last night. Well, yeah, I think it was played last night. This was part of the Clutch International Rapid Tournament worth $265,000. And this is the last game of the final round of that tournament. And actually, Magnus had an early lead in this tournament, in this match versus Fabiano. Oh, yeah, so Bishop A4. I'll take a look at that in a second. But Fabiano came back, and actually at the start of this game, he had a 2-point advantage. But since this is the Clutch International Tournament, this is a clutch game, and it's actually worth 3 points. So if Magnus wins this game, he wins the tournament. If it's a draw or a win for Fabiano, then of course Fabiano wins. Okay, so somebody said Bishop A4, and I heard Rook E6. So let's consider one at a time. So Bishop A4. So I wonder if that was were we maybe meaning Bishop C or A3? Because it looks like, unless I'm missing something, isn't Bishop A4 just a blunder of the piece, or am I missing something there? Somebody says Rook takes E6. Rook takes E6. Okay, that's something that is involved with the idea, certainly. Sahil says question mark and then gives me I think it's like a ghost thumbs up of some sort. I gotta be careful because YouTube is actually lagging behind me a little bit, so you guys need a little bit more time. So we're looking for the best move for White here. What do you think? So somebody said not sure. Oh, somebody said Bishop B2 and then said they think it's a blunder. Well, Bishop B2 definitely looks good. Boy, you're going to have a couple of nasty bishops there. That's a nasty bishop pair. So definitely a tempting move. Somebody said Queen E2. Actually, Queen C2 is played here. Queen C2. And whoa, I didn't notice this in analysis. It doesn't really, the computer didn't really like the move. It actually wanted Magnus to play Queen D3 instead. I guess that was maybe slightly better, the computer thought. But of course, the point of this move is it's threatening that F7, or excuse me, that H7 pawn. So kind of a big mess, pretty scary. And how do you defend that? What do you do as black to deal with? You've got the knight, of course, and the queen attacking there. You've also got this weakened pawn that you have to keep in mind. How do we deal with that? Are we saying? Oh yeah, somebody's saying bishop A3. That doesn't seem, I don't think that works right here. Of course, you were probably talking about a different moment in time. So I apologize if I missed that. But now we're switching over to, okay, so YouTube's still a few seconds behind me, so they haven't seen this. But so now we're looking at Black's perspective. White is just, Magnus Carlsen has just played queen to c2 there, and is eyeballing this h7 square, which is going to be, actually, does that end up being checkmate, I think?
Yeah, that ends up being checkmate if not defended.
Yeah, because if he captures it, then the king's got to step back, and the queen can just step back down.
And then that's mate.
Yeah, and it's mate because the knight is taking this square here. So, yeah, so threatening mate in two, right? Mate in two. How do you deal with that? Anybody? So I got a message from you, Isaac. Let me think about that. That is actually what Caruana plays, but let me see if anybody else wants to answer that, since YouTube's a little bit behind us. And okay, so so somebody says G6. Okay. They play G6. Seems like a reasonable move. That protects, but
stops.
Go ahead. Yeah, it definitely stops mate. Yeah, you would have had a lot longer game had you played that move. And somebody says rook G5. So it looks, I think that's a good solution. I think that makes sense.
You mean G6, not G5?
Oh yeah, G6. Wow. Yeah, G6 is a good solution there. You still got a decent defense on everything. You know, yeah, that's solid. That's what Caruana should have played, probably. Something like that, unless somebody has, somebody said rook F5. Rook F5. I think they can just grab the rook, and then, oh no, the knight is, or yeah, I guess that's okay. That's just a trade.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's not. Oh no, well, yeah,
that's just a big trade.
It's a big trade. That's fine. But Fabiano Caruana actually defends with the rook, which is really a huge mistake. As you can see here now, this line on the left side of the screen has gone all white. It's saying that Fabiano Caruana is down 4 points. It says Magnus White is up by 4 points. Yeah, that was a blunder. He shouldn't have played that move. He probably should have played G6 as, who called that out? Who said G6? Darn it. Oh yeah, Jackson, nicely done. I think that would have been the better move. But again, Fabiano Caruana is under some serious time pressure. All right, so that's the move that was played here. And let's go ahead and switch perspective, because this is where it just gets good. So, okay, so how do you deal with this? You know, he's blocked us here, but you know, we know it's a mistake. We know there's a mistake there. So let's get to the bottom of it. How can we identify this mistake? Oh, did you watch this game, Jackson? I think maybe Jackson watched this. Or is he just, yeah, probabilities, I guess you're right. Jackson's saying White eventually wins the pawn. Yeah, I guess that would make sense. It's just kind of inevitable. But I think Magnus is he's looking to beat something or go after something worth a little bit more. So you can, if you want, you can say your suggestions to the whole group. So normally when we're doing the puzzles, I'll suggest that you send private messages to me. I think in this format, it's fine just to put them all out there. And that way, if I miss something, maybe one of you guys pick it up and say, hey, so-and-so said, you know, G6 or whatever. Okay. So somebody said knight takes G6. He's got two defenders. So it seems like, I mean, he could just capture with either piece, the rook or the queen, can't he? Oh, no, he can't capture with the queen. No, he would capture with the rook, and then if rook captures, then queen captures back. You know, the threat of queen captures on h7 isn't there if the knight captures the pawn. So I don't think knight takes e6 works there. Oh, and so Elizabeth says, oh, Elizabeth, that is the correct answer. You got it. But I'll leave the people on Zoom maybe a little bit more time to think about it. So Elizabeth on YouTube actually got the right answer.
I was supposed to.
I don't know if any of you are also watching YouTube. Yeah, in the future, if you guys would watch it on YouTube also, or maybe just YouTube, I don't know, whatever is convenient for you. That's helpful for my my channel. So Elizabeth's got the right answer. Anybody else? Oh yeah, I think actually Jackson, you nailed it. That is correct. So it's removing the defender tactic. The defender, you know, so we can actually just capture here, and you know, there's really nothing to be done now for black. There's no good moves. I'm not going to torture you, ask you to try to come up with the best move. There's no best move here. You can't capture with the bishop, of course, because of that mate that we looked up earlier. We looked at earlier where queen comes here, king's forced. My mouse is in the wrong spot. King's forced to go over, and then that's mate. So it's mate and 2 if you move the rook. So that's not an option. I don't think there is anything else. I think this is pretty hopeless unless somebody sees something that they want to put out there. What do you do? I'll leave it for a little bit just to give YouTube a chance to catch up, just in case, because Elizabeth is definitely engaged, and I'd like to see. Oh, yeah, yeah, that is so. Jackson, that is the correct move. So Jackson got the right move there. Nicely done. Well, I mean, there just wasn't a good move, so the queen sacrifice, and really, you know, he's not doing so. That was the best move that could be played also, so well done. He's not doing too bad here. He's got a couple pieces for the queen, so you know, it's not terrible. The king is a little looser now. We've got this nasty diagonal that's definitely going to be a part of the game, but yeah, and then there's that move that I was talking about that was going to come later on. That's pretty brutal. Yeah, is it only a point difference? Somebody said the difference is only a point material. Okay, 4 pawns. Yeah, bishop and a rook for a queen. So yeah, Caruana's still doing pretty good here actually. Or well, and you know, strong move. I think if it does that star, that's like one of the better moves, and then I think it'll like give it something else if it's the best move. Okay, so this is actually saying it's a bit of an inaccuracy. I don't know if this is helping us much, but the idea is he's trying to attack that defender of this knight here, just kind of setting himself up for removing the defender tactic. It's saying, the computer is saying that it would have been better to push the A pawn instead, but that's not what happened there. All right, and okay, so Caruana gets out of the way, but it's actually a bit of a mistake. Let's actually go forward here. Magnus finds just another aggressive move. And okay, so it says it wasn't a great move here, but he's, you know, simply looking to maybe, if the queen's lined up, so this is something you want to watch out for. You can't just leave your queen lined up with a bishop like this, because, I mean, let's just imagine for a second that it's black's move. Let's imagine for a second that it's black's move here. What move would you play? And I'm going to give you a solid 30 seconds to think about it, because I got to at least let YouTube catch up. I think they're like 10 seconds behind. So, yeah, so Jackson jumped right on it there. And I guess it's a good idea to send that privately, so I appreciate that. So Jackson's got the right answer, or at least the one that I was looking at. There might be better ones, but that's the one I saw. Okay, so it just moved there on YouTube. I got YouTube volume turned down. I'm watching it over here on the other screen, and it's a bit behind here. So I've got one correct answer. Anybody else interested? What would you play here for black? There's a devastating move. Somebody said R. R. And yes, that's correct, Isaac. You also nailed it. She's trying to get it out there before, Elizabeth's trying to get it out there before I reveal, I think. It's like R, capital R. Rook H. Yeah. No, not H. Yeah, it's a rook move. I think she's looking for the same. Yeah, so if you discover attack here, so you can play check. And of course, they could just capture back, but you're attacking the queen, so you probably capture with your rook first with another check, and then eventually you win the queen. So, so Magnus, of course, he's not going to fall for that kind of stuff. He's checking. So interesting. They're saying this was a blunder. Huh. Wow. Well, it's easy to judge when you have a computer at your side. They're saying he should have moved up there, but the main idea was just to get the queen out of the way. And now again, oh, this actually says that that's the best move. I think it's one of the good moves. And so he's attacking the bishop, trying to get the bishop off this diagonal, just making a serious threat there. And Magnus goes ahead and grabs it. He's happy to take the free pawn. And now an attack on the queen, which the computer doesn't like a whole lot. And Magnus plays the strongest move, or at least one of the stronger moves. And now this is pretty scary. I don't know if any of you watched my previous video. I was mentioning how you got to watch out for these light squares. Magnus does have his light squared bishop. Maybe you can help him out. But also important thing to note, so that, yeah, we do have the rooks staring down this file. We've got the bishop on the diagonal, but nobody's really controlling this square. Although if you've got two rooks there, that's a problem. So we can't allow both those rooks to come down. All right. So Magnus, to move here, what would you do if you were the world champion? And we'll give some time. We'll give it at least a solid, at least a solid 30, 45 seconds. Let's go 45. What move do we play here? Increase the pressure. So I'm going to give it about 20 seconds more, and then I'm going to actually give a tiny little hint. Oh, yeah. So somebody said that was Magnus's only blunder of the game. Pretty subjective. I mean, pretty tough to spot that as a blunder. Like I said, it's easy when I got stockfish backing me up. Okay, so YouTube is answering that one now. I don't think that's the move he plays here. I think, no, that's definitely not the move he plays here. But so somebody said bishop takes d5. I'm not sure what the carry on would be. That I mean, he's got the other knight defending it. I guess, oh, you know, the rook can't capture because that's, you know, the rooks are defending each other. So yeah, bishop captures, then knight captures. Yeah, that's not terrible. Yeah, Isaac, nicely done. You got the move. That's a so I'm going to leave it for a few more moments to let everybody else think about it. So that's the right move. Isaac's got it. Bishop d4. Oh, bishop d4. Yeah, pinning the rook. And if you capture the rook, he can't capture you back because queen checkmates, right? I think that's a good move, right? That's a good move. That's not what's played here. Isaac actually got the right move, which I think is super. It's a cool move. So I think I'll go ahead and move forward. It's actually kind of like interference, but it's also threatening checkmate on the next move. Just super deadly. Yeah, I think maybe that's yeah. How do you deal with that? How do you defend against something like that? Just try to what do you call it? Empathize with poor Fabiano. Oh, hey, Gavin. Okay. Hey, Gavin from 5 Mile then. Okay. Elizabeth is actually Gavin. Okay. Elizabeth must be his mother. Yep, Libby Center. Yeah. Hey, Libby Center. Hey, 5 Mile Chess Club. I've got who else is here? I've also got Prairie View is here, and Jackson. Are you from? Jackson is from. I have a lot of Jacksons, but Jackson Hamilton, is that? That's from Johns Hopkins, I think, right? Is that right? Yeah. Okay. So we're looking for some sort of defense for black. What do you do here? Any ideas? Am I missing something? Did somebody? Oh, Leroy's trying to get in. I wonder how long he's been there. Darn it! I wish I had some sort of. I need to get. I need to figure out how to get around that. I need to figure out how to get around that invite thing, or you guys should just be able to jump in. I don't want you to have me invite you. Darn it. So sorry about that, Leroy. I don't know how long you were sitting there. So we're looking for, this is kind of late in the game. We're looking for the best move for black here, and maybe there's just really nothing that can be done. So somebody's saying rook e1 check. I think that's actually what Fabiano plays. So this is Fabiano Caruana and Magnus Carlsen. Magnus Carlsen's playing white Leroy, sorry. And Caruana is playing black. I actually have the board flipped because we were thinking about black's perspective here. And so one of my students said rook e1 check. I think that's what Fabiano plays. Rook e1 check and captures, and now that critical square that I was pointing out earlier comes into play. And so now it's black to move again, right? So black to move, and I don't know. What do you do here? I mean, this is checkmate right there. Yeah, he does escape Jackson. Yeah, that F2 square that he's sitting on was a chink in the armor, or chink in the attack, I guess. Rook takes F8. Oh yeah, that's rook F1's what he plays here. That's right, of course. So actually, I should have gave more time for other people. I'm sorry, YouTube, for not giving you enough time to think about that. All right, so that was the move, and Isaac did call it out first. So he runs away, another check, and it is actually right here that Fabiano resigns, I think. Yeah, that's the last move. There's just really nothing Fabiano could do. I think it's a ballistra mate, this strange checkmate with the queen right next to the bishop like that. I could be wrong on that. But there's really no way to answer it, right? Unless I'm missing something. Well, more important, unless Fabiano missed something. There was nothing that could be done here. Well, he was actually threatening, of course, the queen and helper mate. The queen could have captured as well. Well, h6 doesn't do any good because it does stop the first mate that I mentioned with the bishop, but the queen and helper mate, the kiss of death, as Magnus himself would put it, that wouldn't help him any. So, all right. So let's maybe spend some time looking over some tactics or something. You want to do that? We got a little more time. Any particular type of tactics we like to look at, or would we like to look? I mean, we could look at special checkmates, you know, like checkmating patterns, or just general tactics. And I'll even bring up a list for you here. Let's go with intermediate, I think, for this class. You want to do, oops, go up here. Forks or pins or skewers, discovered checks. There was, yeah, I missed a spot in that game I should have showed you where there was just a lot of discovered checks that were going to happen. I forgot. So somebody says pins coming from, so 5 Mile, Gavin. Let's look at pins. So pins, so that's where you, whoops. So pins are where you line pieces up. So like this bishop here is pinned to the queen. So that's the idea there. Yeah, I actually picked the wrong spot here. I want to be intermediate, pins, and then I need to be training. Okay. All right, so this is the puzzle here. So it is, I'll try to make it a little bigger. It is white to play and win some material using this idea of a pin. So a pin is when you have a ranged attacker like a bishop, a rook, or a queen, and they line up with 2 of your opponent's pieces. And so what move would you play here if you were playing for white? Anybody? Okay. Yes. Nicely done, Jackson. And try to, and Jackson did do it correctly, but oh, cool. So with this type of scenario, if you would try to with the private chats, that would be ideal. On YouTube, it's fine. Just you can just send a message in there, and that's fine until, for now, anyways. If somehow I have thousands of people watching YouTube, well, at some point we'll have to do things differently. But I don't think that's a problem for a while. Oh yeah. Thank you, Jackson. Well, I kind of gave it away. It's so the pin already exists, and Jackson pointed out that I gave it away, even though he's being private about the answer. But yeah, the knight is pinned to the queen. So, you know, no matter what, black is not going to move that knight. Well, not no matter what, but they really don't want to move that knight. So if you play c4, they lose the knight. They just can't save it. And they're going to unleash attack on our queen, but, you know, we've got plenty of nice squares for our queen to move to, so we're not really worried about that. We win a knight for a pawn, and that's normally a good deal. Okay. All right, so again, we've got a pin here. I always like to point out that you really should start by looking at checking moves and, you know, considering loose and semi-loose pieces. Like, you know, this knight is completely loose. Doesn't look like we can attack him very easily. Well, actually we can. You know, this bishop is what I would call semi-loose, which is of interest. It's attacked by the rook here from e1, and it's defended by the knight. So that's interesting also. And so, yeah, we're just going to keep those things in mind as we look at this. Oh, yeah, not to mention, oh, that's right, we're doing pins. So, yeah, the rook is also undefended, so that's a loose piece as well. What move would you play here? Leroy, nicely done. You nailed it. And I'm going to keep my cursor off over to the side now. Thank you, Hamilton, for helping me be better at this. I do appreciate your feedback on anything, you know, if the audio is terrible or something like that, that I'd like to know. I want to get better at this. So I appreciate your input. And if you notice me looking over to my right constantly, that's me looking at the chats. I put all the chats on my iPad. I also got to make sure that somebody else isn't dropping in here. So we're looking for the best move for For white, I think I only got, yeah. So, okay. So Leroy's got it. Jackson's got it. And Isaac nailed it as well. Yeah. So it's a pin. So just kind of pausing a little bit to give YouTube a little time to catch up. It's not quite, I think they're like, yeah, you got it as well. Gavin got it from YouTube. Yeah, so bishop c4. Bishop c4 is a move. An absolute pin of the rook. You got to watch out for stuff like this. Don't be lining up your pieces like that. It's just, that's deadly. No way to save that rook. As I said, it's an absolute pin. Absolutely cannot move, and we're going to go ahead and gobble that up. All right. If you want to do something else, I'm going to put it up in the chat. We'll look at this next pin, and if anybody has suggestion for what we'd like to look at next, we could always go over to live chess and look at some checkmate patterns, or we can look at a different tactic. That's an option as well. So again, here we're looking for pins, and that's where you're lining up pieces. Okay, and YouTube hasn't even caught up yet. They haven't even seen this. Okay, now they're looking at it. All right, so we're looking for the best move for, so this is pins intermediate. So this is using the idea of pins and then actually expounding on it. So it's a little bit more difficult. There's another layer to it. You have to set up the pins. Okay, so somebody said, so Mechanatron, who I'm not sure if he's from one of my schools or not, but Mechanatron says forks next. So we'll look at some forks after this puzzle. So this is our last pin for this evening. So looking for best move for black here. So we always play the king on the bottom half of the board. So black to play here and create a pin, but you can't do the pin right now. You're going to do something that sets up for the pin. Is that okay? So somebody said, well, so I see that move. Wait. Okay, so that was probably the last one. Okay. Yeah, I was confused. I said bishop c4, but yeah, so I think Isaac, that move works. Jackson, yes, I think that's it. Is there another way of doing that too? Am I? Oh, no, you got to do it that way. Yeah. Okay, that's correct. So yeah, Jackson, wait. So Isaac, correct. And then, yeah, Jackson, that is correct. Nailed it. And I need to give YouTube some time to catch up. Wait, Queen E4. Huh? Somebody said Queen E4. I don't quite. Maybe that's from something else. Black plays Queen E4. No. So this sets up. So we're going to set up. So yeah, I don't think Queen E4 works. It's actually, well, you know, you want to consider every check. And I actually was looking the wrong way first. I was looking at this first check, Queen to F1 check. You know, there's Queen to F1 check. There's Queen to D1 check. And what happens if you play those different moves? Well, either way, the king has to move to this H2 square, right? Isn't that the case? I mean, I guess if we move queen to D1 check, he could block with the queen, but who wants to do that? Nobody. Nobody wants to do that. So let's not imagine. I mean, if he does that, that's fantastic. But if we play Queen D1, he's got to go to H2, right? Or, well, if we played Queen F1, he'd have to go to H2. And then we're thinking about pins. So how do we take advantage of that? Giving everybody else a little bit more time to think about that one. I know Jackson and Isaac, you nailed that right off, but this one's a little bit more subtle. And then we'll look at forks next as soon as we get a couple more answers on this one. Good to see you, Leroy, from Prairie View. We also have Kellen is here as well from Prairie View. Got Isaac from Libby Center, and I think we've got Sawhill from Libby Center. We've got Mechatron, which I'm not sure where you hail from, Mechatron, so you can let me know. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. And Jackson, are you Jackson Hamilton from North Star, or are you from, I think I've had a couple Jackson Hamiltons actually. I think I have one from Johns Hopkins University. Queen C4. Somebody says queen to C4 for black. Queen to C4 doesn't, I mean, the pawn could just capture you. So we always want to consider checking moves. So let's imagine that we play queen to D1. If we play queen to D1, he's got to move his king, right? He's got to move his king to H2. And then what do we play? How about that? Yeah, so that is the right first move. So the right first move is queen D1, check. The king is going to go to H2, and then how do you finish him off? What is the point of that move? And this is a good practice. We always want to consider every checking move. You got to consider your checks, and magical things can happen for you when you do. So looking for somebody besides Isaac, or so I know Isaac and Jackson already answered this. So anybody else? Can you? So we're imagining we play queen D1 check, king goes to H2, white king. That's the only place he can go. And then how do we? Yes. So YouTube got it. So Mechatron from YouTube, you've got the right answer. By the way, Mechatron, what are you from one of my schools, or did you just stumble across my channel? I don't recognize the name. So he's got the right answer. Yeah, so it's actually bishop d6. I promised some forks, so let's move on. I kind of dragged this one out. I'm sorry. But yeah, so the queen goes to d1, and he's got no choice. He's not going to put his queen there, right? But the point of moving to d1 instead of f1, which I missed initially, is the fact that you can defend your bishop. And now he's got no choice but to cap. Well, yeah, he's got the queen defended, so they're just looking for us to go ahead and capture it. And we should have a pretty fun game finishing off this situation. All right, let's look at some intermediate forks. So remember, we always want to be considering our checking moves. I wish I could, if anybody can find a t-shirt for me, I'll wear it on my YouTube live videos. You can get me a t-shirt that says, always consider every check. You know, you got to do it. If you're not considering every check, you are messing up, period. That's a fact. You're going to get nailed if you're missing those checks. So you got to consider every check. You got to be looking at loose and semi-loose pieces. So pieces that are completely undefended, you know, like our bishop here on B7, the black bishop on B7 is undefended. We got to keep that in mind. The bishop on white's bishop on D3 is semi-loose. It's attacked by one queen, but defended by the other. These are interesting things that you have to keep in mind when you're looking for tactics, and they can help you solve the puzzles. And yes, Isaac, right on top of it, just nailed it. But he had a head start. Isaac had a head start, at least compared to you guys over there on YouTube. So Isaac got the right move. He probably used those ideas that I was talking about. You know, you want to be scanning the board. You want to be looking for every possible checking move, which I don't think there are any checking moves in this case. And then you look for loose and semi-loose pieces. You've got to consider capturing moves and how they change the aspect of the game. Those are things you should always be going over. So given a little more time here for YouTube to catch up. They are, yeah, you got the right move also, Jackson. Nice. So you want to consider, you know, threats that you can make, and you got to consider threats that can be made against you. So again, we have of interest are things like our bishop, you know, that could be a problem. It doesn't seem to be, you know, he's pretty safe in that like semi-fianchettoed position there. But, you know, this bishop here is semi-loose, and semi-loose pieces are just as prone, they're just as prone to tactics as are completely loose pieces. It's essentially like that bishop is undefended and unattacked. It's the same thing, basically. So somebody said bishop to d6, or maybe was that, oh no, that was the last one. That was, okay, that was YouTube from last one. So just waiting for YouTube to get a chance to look at this. So a couple of you on, yeah, so I only have 2 of you got it right so far. Okay, so we'll give you some more time to contemplate this. How do you take advantage? So it's this bishop that's the issue here, that semi-loose bishop. You know, I want you to start feeling like you should get like spidey senses or tingles or something, or maybe you get a little maniacal when you see a semi-loose piece. You're like, huh, semi-loose piece. What can I do with that? You know, you gotta start contemplating that. And if you do that enough, you know, at least some of the time, you're gonna find cute little things that you can do, like this move here. Like Isaac and Jackson already got, nicely done. I think this will be our last puzzle for tonight because we're actually over an hour, but so thank you all for joining me. Knight e5, I hadn't thought about that. Well, Knight e5 seems like they can just capture, seems like a free knight. So somebody said Knight e5, but I think that's a blunder, really. Knight e5 and knight takes e5, not the right idea. 5 Mile got the right answer here. Excuse me, I keep on meaning to bring myself water. Gavin from 5 Mile got it. It says Elizabeth, so I have to remember that Elizabeth is actually Gavin. Somebody said bishop a6. No, I mean, the bishop's not pinned to anything. So if you play bishop a6, their bishop can just capture, right? And I don't think you gain anything of that. I mean, you open up the file, you can put a rook on the file, but I don't think you get enough compensation for that. Yeah, Gavin is 5 Mile. Cool. So far I've got, Gavin's got the right answer. Lee, oh no. Let me see. Wait, I'm sorry. So Leroy, you did have the right answer and then you switched it. I'm sorry, I missed that you had the right answer. So yeah, the right answer is knight b4. It is knight to b4. Attacking the queen, you've got to defend the queen. So, you know, she backs up or whatever. If she would have backed up, then you would have 2 attackers on the bishop there. So they do a desperado maneuver. I mean, they're going to lose the bishop anyway. So they're going to go ahead and kind of unsettle the castle position around Black's king in exchange for the loss of the bishop. So they get a little bit more compensation than just the single pawn in that regard. And now they're threatening the knight there. But yeah, so that was the video. I hope you'd enjoyed it. Do keep an eye out on YouTube. I am posting at least 1 video a week on YouTube about various topics. I actually just covered one about another game between these 2 gentlemen that wasn't actually the final game. So in that video, I say it's the final game. It was the final game of the first day. So, but this game that we just saw here earlier, or the game that we saw earlier between them, was actually the final game, and Magnus Carlsen is now $250,000 richer. Okay, well, thank you all for joining me on Zoom and also on YouTube. You are very welcome. And I think I'm going to do Monday again for a while, kind of see how that goes. And I probably will eventually change to another day because there's, like, I try to do polls on when we can do this, and there's always conflicts. There's always people that are upset that I chose a particular day. But yeah, so I'll just move it around a little bit. Maybe at some point I'll do 2 or 3 if we get enough attention. If enough need for it. Okay, well, I will talk to you all later. Thank you for joining me, and have a good week.